Today's episode is brought to you by Squarespace. I'm glad TAG Heuer is doing well. I think it's funny that I consider TAG Heuer an underdog, even though they're a multi-billion-dollar company that's owned by the world's wealthiest man. But they are an underdog in my heart because they did so well. And they have so much history from the second half of the 20th century. And as a vintage lover, I can't help but to acknowledge it and root for them still, right through the storm. And they had storm, in the 2000s, the brand, distracted by a lot of money, made a lot of bad decisions, made a lot of decisions that really, forced them to lose sight of what made them so amazing. Right, what made them to be such a great brand, such a leader in industry, but they're back between the glass box and the new monikos and so many. TAG Heuer's doing so well, and I'm so happy to see a great house restored. And this collaboration, hot take, is awesome. It is the icing on the cake. It is the MoonSwatch that I actually wanted, right? And I am a critic of the MoonSwatch. I am so happy to see TAG Heuer's new release. I absolutely love these new Formula Ones. I don't even know what Kith is, really. I mean, I know it's a streetwear brand, but I know nothing really about the brand. I think it's terrific. So today we're going to be talking all about the history of the TAG Heuer Formula One and what its reintroduction represents in the market. We'll also be talking about one of the best buys on the vintage market, period. Well under $1,000. And really, I'm going to use this watch. This is a TAG Heuer chronometer in solid yellow gold to really kind of wax poetic about what was so lovable about this brand at one point. I adore this watch. It's in my favorite colors, yellow and green, yellow gold, 18 karat yellow gold and green. And anyway, I'm feeling good today, guys. Thank you for watching. Let's get into it. What is the Formula One? The Formula One, TAG Heuer's Formula One is a bit of a joke. It's a watch that was introduced, a collection of watches introduced in the 1980s. They were made of fiberglass and offered really affordably and in these fun colors. It was a really weird thing, right? I mean, TAG Heuer is a luxury watch brand, and they decided to manufacture this really playful and approachable watch. And today, that's still kind of forward-thinking. And back then, it was really new, right? But kind of everything went in the 80s. 80s were a really weird time for everything. And I think that this little, oddball decision ultimately yielded one of the coolest little collections of basically plastic watches in the history of watches. I don't own one, but more on those watches and what I think that will happen to them later. And since no one's really talked about them. Right? I've been in the watch industry for 10 years, and I can count on one hand how many times anyone's ever mentioned the TAG Heuer Formula One to me. I would guess that if I polled the average watch enthusiast just a month ago of their knowledge of the Formula One, I would guess that they don't even have any, right? This was not on anyone's radar. And then it made its way onto a Hodinkee episode recently, which now in retrospect very clearly was a tease to what was ultimately coming, which is a collaboration between Kith and TAG Heuer to ultimately create this collection of new Formula Ones branded Kith Heuer, right? So co-branded. That's the first thing I want to talk about. I've been critical of co-branding as of fairly recently. I was critical of the Travis Scott co-branding, and there's no doubt. I think this co-branding was interesting. I think it was logical. The folks at Kith truly are passionate about this watch, and I don't think that its reintroduction would have happened had it not been for that passion and clout, right? I mean, the passion is what drives it, and the clout is what makes it feasible, right? What makes it ultimately successful in the market, or a combination of those two things. And I think that this collection of 10 new Formula One watches, which is limited, by the way, and I'll talk about the limited, formula about this later in the episode, I think that they deserve the co-branding. I do think that it's quite bold. It's not a double stamp. They literally put Kith instead of TAG, but that shows quite a bit of humility on behalf of LVMH and on behalf of Heuer. I do think that, TAG may benefit even more than Kith here. I think that TAG is the one really making out and hitting another home run in watch media and on the market, right? I think that these watches will sell out very, very quickly. I think that they'll be really, really coveted. And now moving into the vintage portion of this, I think that the watches will be gobbled up on eBay. right? There are a ton listed all over the internet. These watches have always been only worth maybe a couple $100, 100, 200, $300. That was it. And now I think that you'll see those watches trade above 1,000. I think that not so long from now, you will see those watches absolutely 3x and 4x in value, depending on which color is most desirable. I happen to love the yellows and I love the oranges, and I really like them all, to be honest with you. But here's why I think that this is better than the MoonSwatch. I think these watches are so great for the same reason they were so great in '86, and even more so now. I think because the industry is so serious and so competitive and so expensive, and everyone's looking to, flaunt and all these different things, I think it's pretty neat that a really big brand is producing something that's not only priced approachably, $1,500, relatively speaking, in the watch world is affordable, and but even moreover, playful. Right? It's a playful, nostalgic watch. It is the embodiment of a lot of what we talk about here at Theo and Harris, which is having fun in the watch industry, right? Having color and playing with sizes and really just not treating it so seriously, right? Showing up to an auction wearing a swatch, as I did with the Paul Newman auction, right? You're going to dinner wearing a great linen shirt and a Formula One, right? A $1,500 plastic little tag. I think that's fun. And I think that fun really exudes confidence, right? Exudes confidence in self. Not to say that a Nautilus exudes, self-doubt, but there is an argument, right? I mean, you're looking to prove nothing with the Formula One other than that you just like color and you don't have anything to prove. That's it. I think that's kind of cool. I think that's really great, and that's really healthy, right? I just did a panel discussion with Tony Traina from Hodinkee for a podcast. You can go find it online. I'll leave a link down below. And we were talking about that in the podcast, and it's an hour. You should really listen to it. But we were talking about, the danger of losing all the fun in the watch industry. And it was ironic that it happened the day that the Formula One was released, because I think the Formula One represents everything that Tony and I both really, really like. Whether we like the watch or not is different. I don't think I asked Tony about his opinion on this particular watch. But the point is that this watch represents, even though it's limited, represents everything that's fun about watches, right? Expression and not taking itself too seriously. And this watch represents so much of what we love about wristwatches here at Theo and Harris, right? Relative approachability, but really even more than that, color and fun and not taking this hobby so seriously. I love a very stuffy Patek Calatrava, there's no doubt. But I love it just as much as I love a beautiful, fun, colorful watch, be it from TAG Heuer or Nomos. I'm wearing a beautiful dive watch from Vaer. I think just incredibly well executed. These watches are, again, can't compromise quality, right? Quality is key when it comes to any of these things, which was the big concern with the MoonSwatch as well. Sure, it's fun, but did Swatch bite off more than they could chew? Are they going to produce something that's going to break? I know that a lot of the bioceramic was fading on people's wrists immediately, right? I don't really have too much patience for that, but when the quality is uncompromised and the color and the designer there, like these twisted lugs and this beautiful bezel with all the color and everything. Vaer has done a fantastic job with these watches. You should all go take a look at Vaer. I'll put the link down below. But that's what we love about watches, right? That's what we love about, any collector hobby, right? Taking it not so seriously, having a bit of a blast, letting our personality shine through. And this Formula One it embodies that perfectly. When I see one of these Formula Ones out in the wild, I will absolutely, if not say hello, I will absolutely smile. And that's what we're looking for in the watch world, right? We're looking for watches that kind of bring a smile to our face, right? We're looking for watches that kind of restore our, passion and whimsy, right? Our amazement at this hobby, right? I think that's what makes this special. I don't know. I'm just a really, really big fan of this, and I'm a big fan of TAG, and it's not a brand that I personally own in my collection, although I'll talk to you about this tag in just a second. I think they're really representative of the American 1980s, 90s, and 2000s, right? Before their fall off, trying to adjust and pivot into modernity. TAG at one point had a really high perceived brand value. My first memories of watches, a buddy's dad had a TAG, and I remember, it being widely held that was a great watch, basically just, basically like a Rolex. That really was by normal people the perception, right? Which has not been the perception for a very long time. No one's really talked about TAG or been excited about TAG for a while. And yet the decision-making as of late has just really earned their way back into favor of the watch industry. And I think and I hope into the mass market, right, over the next 5 and 10 years. I think that TAG will again be seen as a positive force of good and luxury and, whatever in the watch industry, and it's well earned. I don't know how many brands out there are working as hard as TAG and having such a success rate. Right? I mean, they are producing watches that are kind of home runs, one after the other. Whether you like them or not, they're basically home runs. I mean, from the Skipper and the regular glass box even to these, like I said, the Monaco to the Solograph, right? The Aqua Racer Solograph. That is the best Aqua Racer they've ever made. And a release like this is so well timed because it's coming off of the back of, a lot of other hits. The TAG Heuer leadership team has been doing incredibly well. And I mean, really what they've done is restore our passion, our respect for a brand that once had quite a bit of our passion and respect and lost its way, right? That is why I think it's an underdog story. Of course, multi-billion-dollar company, yada, 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 sure. But as a, independent of the business of it, right? Just the brand, just our affinity for, what the brand represents, the brand story. How do you not root for them? I mean, how do you, it'd be a real shame if TAG Heuer as a brand ended up being resigned to where they were, right? Where watch people went kind of winced, like, oh, I wouldn't buy a TAG. That would have been a shame, right? That would have been a real shame. So that's why I'm so glad that, this is another in a series of home runs from the brand. How many times have we really seen over the last 10 years a brand come back into our graces? Our opinions of the brands have remained largely unchanged. I mean, JLC hasn't fallen off a cliff or had a blow up, right? No one has. Rolex has changed, sure. Rolex has become even more a positive, but caricature of itself, right? Being this status symbol. But barring that, Grand Seiko came on the scene and kind of left the scene all very quickly, right? Sure. So there's an example. But for the better, TAG Heuer has had a lot of change. They're being led very, very well. And I think that this Formula One was a perfect, very timely introduction. They took everything that we could have observed from the MoonSwatch and appropriated it back to them. And really, it was even cooler in many ways because it was right back from history. In many ways, TAG Heuer had done the MoonSwatch long before the MoonSwatch. TAG Heuer made, their design affordable and plastic way before Omega even thought of it. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I'm really rooting for TAG. I think this is a great watch. Some of these watches have 250 units and they're only available at Kith. Another couple have 350 units and others have 850. I don't know. To me, the release thing is a little bit funny. I mean, I'm not going to criticize it, but I didn't care to understand it because I know they'll be hard to get and that'll be the end of it. But I think they did a great job. Great job to TAG Heuer, to the leadership. Before we continue with TAG Heuer, let's just give a quick 60-second thank you to the sponsor of today's video, Squarespace. As many of you know, I wouldn't be here had it not been for Squarespace. Their easy-to-use, affordable, and absolutely beautiful and functional platform has been the home to all of my many websites over the last 9 years. I have trusted Squarespace with all of my business, all of my payment systems, all of my design, all of my brand building, and I have not regretted it once. From their new Squarespace Blueprint to their SEO tools, Squarespace gives you the ability to design your entire brand image as well as, once launched, give it all of the resources and help, professional help that it needs to populate all over the internet. You can make checkout seamless for your customers with simple but powerful payment tools as well, accepting credit cards, PayPal, Apple Pay, etc., giving your customers all of the options, even the option to pay later with Afterpay and ClearPay, which is a huge benefit today. Of course, we've talked about before their fluid engine system, which allows you to drag and drop in the design process, makes it so easy. The big thing here is not only that Squarespace is affordable, that's just the beginning, but the fact that they help you build a beautiful site that is completely reflective of your brand goals. That's the point. Had it not been for Squarespace, I wouldn't be here. And now with all of their new tools, from their Blueprint to their AI and flexible pay and everything, I am more of a spokesperson now than ever. So head on over to squarespace.com/Theo Harris to get 10% off of your first website or domain. Couldn't recommend that more. Now let's back into TAG. This is kind of taking us back in time to understand the larger context of why the Formula One was so cool. And it was because of the contrast, right? The fact that a brand that really was looked at with such esteem could manufacture something so affordable in 1986 is amazing, right? I mean, it's the contrast that makes this interesting, right? So look at them at their peak, right? This is a really great example of peak TAG Heuer. This is a gorgeous 18 karat yellow gold professional tag. I mean, imagine, TAG Heuer being a sort of brand that someone would walk into the store and buy an 18 karat yellow gold version of. That is not as common as we might think on a retail level. Gold watches are far more affordable and normalized on the secondary market, on the vintage market, sure. But on a brand new retail from a massive company, only a few brands really have the ability to actually sell solid precious metal. I mean, obviously you've got the big players, right? The big luxury, major big boys, right? You've got the Rolex. The gold Rolex is an American icon, a global icon. Patek Philippe, of course. Audemars Piguet, of course. But we're talking about brands that, have a wider range, a lower entry point, but still are able to represent a luxury purchase. That is a totally different ballgame, right? And TAG was able to do that. They were able to be the approachable status symbol, but still a status symbol. This watch to me is so unapologetically of its era, right? I mean, it is precious. The design itself is so bizarre. I mean, these old TAG watches are so bizarre. The lug integration literally shows the logo right there. I mean, this watch is so branded. It's amazing. Think about how many watch brands you can look at the case and take off the logo and you still know exactly what it is, right? You've got Rolex, you've got Panerai. You don't have too many. You don't have too many, but you definitely have these old tags, these old TAG professionals. Those Lynx had those Y lugs, right? That is so of the era. We don't talk about it that much because, again, TAG has made plenty of mistakes in the last 20 years that have kind of, knocked them down quite a few pegs, but they're on their way back, right? This watch is a great example of the beauty of TAG Heuer and really how much fun can be had in watchmaking. I wear this watch very frequently. I adore it. I wish I were keeping it, but it is for sale in the Theo and Harris watch shop. So if you do want to take a look at this beautiful professional, even if you're not looking to buy it or looking to be in the market, take a look at the photos because the richness of the gold is absolutely amazing. The color of the green, the vibrance. This watch screams money. It screams, I have more watches at home. I love it. I absolutely love it. So go take a look at this watch. And if you're not looking to buy a watch today, go take a look at our strap shop at Theo and Harris. I'm the one that personally picks out all the leathers and fixes all the tapering and does all of the design, for lack of a better word. And I'm really proud of the Theo and Harris strap shop. All of our straps are handmade, be it in America, France, or Italy, Northern Italy. And they're amazing straps. I guarantee you won't regret a purchase. We sell a ton every week, and all of our clients are incredibly happy, particularly with our exotics. So head on over to the Theo and Harris shop and explore. We appreciate your support. We are a family business. So yeah, we appreciate your support. My mom, who runs our office, will be packing up your strap and sending it on your way wherever you are in the world right after this video, I guess. So thanks again for the viewership, and go TAG.